Welcome to the Explainer. You know the feeling, right? You're deep in your workflow, focused, and then bam, your app just dies, freezes up, or crashes. It is so frustrating. But have you ever stopped to think what actually happens next? On the other side of your screen? Well, let's pull back the curtain because there's this entire hidden system for how software actually gets fixed. So, your app crashes. What do? You probably restart it, right? Maybe you even click that little send error report button and wonder if it just gets blasted into some internet void. Well, I'm here to tell you it doesn't. That single click actually kicks off a super specific, really organized process.
Yeah. Believe it or not, behind all that digital chaos, there is a system. Every single one of those crashes, every weird little glitch, even a tiny typo, it all gets logged. It goes into something called a defect report. And that report, that's the very first step in turning your frustration into a real, actual task for a developer to work on.
Okay, so obviously not all bugs are created equal. A typo is just not the same as a total system crash. So the very first thing a team has to do is figure out just how bad is this bug, really. And in the software world, they have a name for this: severity. It's all about measuring the impact the bug has on the whole system.
All right, let's start at the very top. Severity level 1. This is the big one. Fatal or critical. We're talking absolute worst case scenario. The system just crashes. Boom. You might lose all your data and, this is the key part, there is no workaround. None. Think about a banking app that crashes the second you try to transfer money. That's a severity 1 bug. A complete showstopper.
Okay, taking it down just a notch, we've got severity level 2, serious or major. With these, a really important feature is broken, but hey, at least the whole app doesn't crash. A workaround might exist, but it's usually kind of clunky or not obvious at all. Like maybe the upload photo button is dead, but you figure out you can still drag the file into the window. It's a big deal for sure, but it's not a complete disaster.
Then you've got your severity level 3, or medium bugs. Honestly, these are just the annoying ones. A minor feature isn't working right, but there's a super easy, obvious way around it. It doesn't really stop you from getting your main task done. It just adds an extra, irritating little step to the process.
And finally, at the bottom of the pile, you have severity level 4, cosmetic or low. These are all about the little visual things, the imperfections that have zero impact on how the software actually works. We're talking about a typo in a help menu, a button that's just a little bit misaligned, or a blurry logo. It looks a bit sloppy, yeah, but it's functionally harmless.
Okay, so now the team knows how bad the bug is. That's its severity. But that's only half the story. Now they have to ask a totally different question. How fast do we need to fix this? And that brings us to our second big concept, priority. And listen, priority has nothing to do with how bad the bug is. It's all about one thing: urgency.
So you can see here how priority basically sets the clock. If a bug is tagged as urgent or immediately, that's an all-hands-on-deck situation. It needs a fix within a day, maybe even hours. High priority buys them a couple of days. Normal is maybe within the week, and low, well, that can wait for a while. Now, these exact times change from company to company, but the idea is always the same. Priority tells you where that bug goes in the line. All right, this next part is really the key to the whole thing. This is where it all clicks. Understanding the difference between severity and priority, that's probably the most important concept in this entire process. They sound similar, I know, but they are answering two totally separate questions. So here it is, laid out plain and simple. Severity asks, what's the impact of this bug on the system? Is it a tiny glitch or a complete meltdown? But priority asks, what's the urgency of fixing this thing? Does it need to be solved right this second? And here's the twist, the part that's so important. These two things are not always the same. You can have a really, really bad bug, high severity, that gets a low priority for all sorts of other reasons. And this is the best way to think about it. It's like a hospital emergency room, right? Severity is the doctor's diagnosis. Is it a paper cut? That's low severity. Is it a heart attack? That's super high severity. But priority is the triage nurse's decision. Who gets seen right now? The heart attack patient is definitely high priority.
But what if the company's logo is spelled wrong on the homepage of a huge new client? That's a low-severity bug, a paper cut, but because of who sees it, it becomes an extremely high priority to fix immediately. So you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot of sorting and labeling for each little bug. Why does it matter so much? Well, because when you zoom out and look at all this data together, it tells a story. It lets managers see the overall health of the entire project. And the tool they use for this is called a defect trend report.
So, have a look at this. This is what you want to see. This is a healthy project. In the beginning, week 1, bam, a whole bunch of bugs are found. That's normal. That's what testing is for. But then look what happens. As the weeks go on, the number of new bugs being found drops off. That downward trend is a great sign. It tells the team they're getting things under control, the software is getting more stable, and they're headed in the right direction.
But now, look at this one. This is the exact opposite. This is a project that's in deep trouble. See how the number of new bugs is actually going up over time? There's this huge spike right at the end. That is a massive red flag. It basically means that every time they fix one bug, they're accidentally creating 2 more. The software isn't getting more stable, it's getting less stable. It's a sign of a fundamental problem.
So yeah, this whole system of reports and severities and priorities, it might seem like a lot of bureaucracy, but there's a really simple goal behind it all. It's about taking that absolute chaos of user complaints and bug reports and turning it into a calm, controlled, manageable process.
And the payoff is huge. First, it takes all that "my app is broken" frustration and turns it into real hard data. And with that data, teams can make smart decisions. They're not just fixing the bug that gets the loudest complaints, they're fixing the things that have the biggest actual impact. They can focus on what really matters to you, the user. And what do we all get out of it in the end? We get software that just works better. It's more stable, it's more reliable. So if you walk away with just one thing today, let it be this. The crucial point, the whole secret sauce, is understanding the difference between a bug's impact and its urgency. It's all about balancing that severity with that priority. Getting that balance right, that's the entire game.
And now you know. You're in on the secret. So the next time you spot a typo in an app or a button that feels a little janky, you can ask yourself, okay, what's the severity here? And what would I make the priority? See? You're not just a frustrated user anymore. You're starting to see the world through the eyes of a developer.